This is the download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news in the business of podcasting. I'm Gavin Gaddis. Here's what you need to know for today, Monday, March 23rd. First up, podcasting outperforms other media to deliver campaign reach and attention boost, says Acast survey. A new survey of 3,501 UK adults conducted by Nielsen and Acast found that adding audio podcasting to a media campaign is 33% more effective at increasing brand consideration than radio alone. The report, titled Podcast Incremental Impact UK, also found that Acast podcasts boosted campaign reach by 25% for AM/FM radio, 21% for broadcast video on demand, BVOD, and 15% for live TV. 48% of the individuals surveyed said they would consider a brand or product advertised in podcast audio, and 46% of respondents found podcast ads more entertaining than other formats. Additionally, 55% of respondents said adding podcast to campaigns adds more credibility than live TV, 53%, broadcast video on demand, 51%, and subscription video on demand, 47%. Next up, Goalhanger is making subscriber revenue growth look as easy as tap-ins. UK podcast production company Goalhanger announced this January that it has reached 250,000 subscribers across its network, generating an estimated subscription revenue of £15 million per year. Memberships are live for 8 of the 14 shows, with the average subscriber paying £60 split between monthly and annual payments, granting access to ad-free listening, early access to shows, and bonus content. Despite the rise of paying subscribers, advertising remains the business's biggest revenue stream. The majority of listeners consume content for free, with only 1 to 2% of each show's audience converting to paid membership. Goalhanger says keeping both streams' revenue healthy is important to its business model. This morning, The Hollywood Reporter published an exclusive announcement that Goalhanger is launching a content creator fund initiative dubbed the Accelerator. The program will offer select UK creators up to £10,000 in content investment, alongside mentorship and access to Goalhanger's production infrastructure. Next up, advertising was built for reach. Attention doesn't work that way. This is by Kirby Grines over at thestreamingwars.tv. Grines argues the way audiences consume content doesn't align with advertising methods optimized for reach and frequency. Impressions alone can't capture the state in which someone encounters an ad. Someone on autopilot scrolling a social media feed is far different from someone actively paying attention, but both are an impression. Grines notes that Crocs, Procter & Gamble, and JCPenney have gotten into the microdrama trend to make branded content promoting their products using extended narratives. Narrative-based ad distribution builds attention through engagement and repetition rather than direct insertion of standalone creative. A trend that could benefit podcasting, as branded audio fiction could act as an affordable alternative to full-cast vertical microdramas. And for our final top story, book output topped 4 million in 2025. New industry data from Bowker finds that 2025's amount of books published with ISBN numbers increased 32.5% year over year from 2024. Traditionally published books reached 642,242 books, that's up 6.6% year over year, and self-published works jumped 38.7% to over 3.5 million. As Tom Webster notes on LinkedIn, the fact that over 4 million new books were published in the US alone last year did not trigger controversy about whether we've reached peak book. By comparison, as James Cridland notes in the comments of Webster's post, there were just 207,907 new podcast feeds created globally in 2025, according to Listener Notes data. Some additional perspective to consider the next time you hear some version of the argument, there are too many podcasts. As for the rest of the news, No Mono has appointed former Pocket Cast CEO Owen Grover as the U.S. general manager of the company and has announced the launch of audio/video sync inside of Studio Cloud. Magellan AI's February ranking shows sports programming dominates podcast ad spending, with Anthropic and Meta posting impressive spend increases from January, 26,000% and 12,000%, respectively. Branded podcast agency Quill has been named in the Globe and Mail's Canada Top Growing Women-Led Companies for the second year in a row, landing at number 22 of 44 companies nationwide. DAX United States has welcomed aboard John Sardellis as its new Senior Vice President, Podcast Sales. Podcast One has renewed its exclusive rights and distribution agreement with A&E Networks, retaining sales and distribution rights to the podcast Cold Case Files, I Survived, American Justice, City Confidential, and Ancient Aliens. Published Press covers the appointment of Billy Parks to EVP head of Fox Creator Studios, a new branch allowing Fox access to creators' engaged audiences, while creators can tap into Fox's resources, for example, production and marketing budgets and ad sales strategies. And finally, anonymous sources tell Semaphore that Vox Media's discussion about potentially spinning off its podcasting arm also included proposals to outright sell the podcast network. As of February 2026, potential investors were informed the network is no longer for sale. That'll do it for today's episode. Reminder, you can click the one link in your show notes. That'll take you to today's episode post on soundsprofitable.com, where you can click on any of the links I just talked about. You can also subscribe to get the newsletter version direct to your inbox every day. Today's issue of The Download was written by myself and Emily Ely. Thank you, Emily, as always. Our producers are myself, Tom Webster, Molly Demillier, and Brian Barletta. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Gavin Gaddis, and I'll see you tomorrow.